Sinbad the porter was tired and hungry, so he decided to take a break on a bench outside a mansion. As he sat on the bench, he complained to God that it was not fair that some enjoyed luxuries while others were poor. The owner of the house, also named Sinbad, who was a sailor, heard this and called out. The sailor told the porter that he too used to be poor once, and that he became wealthy only by fate and destiny. After spending the little fortune that his father had left him, Sinbad decided to recreate his wealth as a merchant. I will set sail and become wealthy, he said to himself. So he set sail on a ship with other traders. Let's go to that island, said one of the merchants. Unbeknownst to them, the island was actually a resting well on which trees had grown. The sleeping whale woke up when the sailors started a small fire on the land to keep themselves warm. The whale dived deep into the ocean to destroy the fire, and Sinbad, along with the other sailors, was pulled into the water. However, Sinbad managed to hold onto a wooden log. Luck had other plans as Sinbad watched the ship depart without him. Using the log, Sinbad reached another island where he helped save the king's horse from a supernatural sea monster. The grateful king offered Sinbad a place in his court. Soon, Sinbad became one of the king's favorites and climbed in rank and wealth. After a few months, the ship that abandoned Sinbad came to the port. Sinbad expressed his desire to go back home. Your Honor, I would like to go back home now. I have served you as much as I could. The king approved Sinbad's request, gave him a few gold coins, and sent him on his way back home. Sinbad the sailor had a lot of leisure time on his hands now, thanks to the wealth he had made during his first voyage. However, he was bored and wanted to further discover the world. So he set off on another voyage, and during one of the breaks, his crew accidentally abandoned him on an island. On the island, Sinbad found a giant rock, a giant bird egg, and attached himself to it. The giant mother bird came along and picked up the egg and Sinbad and flew to the nest. Sinbad passed a valley of giant snakes, big enough to swallow an elephant. The snakes protect the diamonds and gems in the valley. Seems like the snakes kill anyone that tries to enter the valley to steal the diamonds and gems, wondered Sinbad. The snakes were the rock's food. In order to get to the diamonds in the valley, smart merchants would throw large chunks of meat on the diamonds in the valley to lure the rock. The diamonds would get stuck to the meat that the bird would carry. When the bird came out of the valley with the meat, with the diamonds stuck to it, the merchants would trick them into leaving the diamonds there and then collect them. Sinbad too smartly strapped himself to one of the meat pieces when a rock picked one up. Sinbad collected a bag full of diamonds and gems. The merchants then rescued Sinbad from the rock's nest and took him back home with the riches he got from the valley. Sinbad would always crave another adventure, a journey as he always wanted to see more of the world. as fate loved to mess with Sinbad. He and his shipmates ended up on an island where there was a castle. The castle belonged to a giant monster who had canine teeth, fiery eyes, a gaping mouth, and extremely dark skin. The giant captured the sailors and decided to eat them. The giant decided that he would eat one man a day, starting with the captain, a fat man. Sinbad and his shipmates decided to trick the giant. They successfully tricked the monster and escaped on a raft made from wood on the island. However, the crew ends up on another dangerous island, which is filled with fresh fruit and water. There were also huge serpents that attacked them. Scared, the crew ran into the woods, where they found more of the large snakes. They all started running and got scattered. Sinbad was now left alone, and so he built himself a shelter with wooden stakes to keep the serpents away. He spent the night in fear and in the morning went to the shore, where he found another merchant ship sailing by. The merchants on the ship rescued him and listened to his adventure stories. They are awed by his adventure stories. Wait, isn't this the same ship that abandoned me during my second voyage? Wondered Sinbad. The captain, an honest man, gave Sinbad the money they made from selling his merchandise. This makes Sinbad wealthier again. It was time for another one of Sinbad's adventures. This time, he and the sailors traveled from port to port peacefully for a while. One day, a storm made the sea wild and loud. The wind soon picked up and turned the ship upside down, throwing all the men and goods into the sea. The sailors barely made it to the island and reached a firehouse. The residents of the house welcomed the crew and gave them food. The sailors ate as much as they could till the evening, when the host moved them into a barn-like place. The sailors would eat whatever the host fed them and then sleep for the rest of the day. How can these people just eat and rest all day in a strange and unknown place? Wondered Sinbad. He soon realized that the hosts were fattening them up to eat them later. With the help of one of the guards, Sinbad managed to escape the cannibals. He reached another part of the island, inhabited by ordinary people. Being the merchant that he was, Sinbad soon found a way to make money on the island and impress the king with his creativity. "Please live in my city, and I will marry you to a nobleman's daughter," said the king. The kingdom had an unusual custom of burying widows or widowers with their spouses. He survived in the pit for a few days, and one lucky night he found a burrow dug by a fox. He had now become weak and malnourished, so he slowly and carefully crawled through the tunnel which led him to the shore. A merchant ship rescued him and took him home from there.